What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. With the previous dividend portfolio update, I found that we are in the need of more exposure in the industrial sector, so there is one name that I would like to take a look into today. It's from aerospace and defense industry, Northrop Grumman, ticker symbol NOC. To check into the stock, we'll take financials and fundamental ratios, then at what price analysts think the stock should be trading at next year, and what superinvestors and insiders have been doing with it. We'll then likely have at least some idea if this pick should be added into the dividend portfolio, or if we should keep on looking for a better opportunity. Now Northrop Grumman is quite a large aerospace and defense pick. Company's market cap is at $64.94 billion US, but unfortunately this year it hasn't been performing well. On the year to date the stock is down for 20.57%, though if we do zoom out to the last 5 years, the performance is not terrible, plus 43.79%. The stock is trading at a price-to-earnings ratio of 14.23, and we are looking into a dividend yield for the stock of 1.74%. So we'll check if these metrics are worth something compared to its history, and for that let's get into the numbers. So the first part I want to take a look into is revenue. And here is company's history for each quarter of the last 5 years. Back in 2018, they were bringing $26.98 billion in revenue for the trailing 12 months. Then a year in 2019 that increased to $32.89 billion. In 2020 we already saw it at $34.7 billion. And in 2021 there was a top at $37.6 billion. Then after another year we had a bit of a slump, a decrease in revenue on the trailing 12 months to $34.96 billion, but afterwards again going up, and with the most recent quarter in of this year, we are at $37.88 billion. So the best quarter ever was back in 2020, with $10.2 billion, plus 17.1% for the quarter year over year, and by the end of last year there was again a quarter with over $10 billion, an increase of 16.14% to a year prior. So there was that bit of a slump by the end of 2021, but it did bounce back, and we have the numbers going higher again. Now let us take the price to earnings history. So back in 2018 the stock was trading at a PE ratio of 15.04, then a year there was not much change, PE at 15.61. Since earnings per share went down a bit in 2020, we saw the PE at 20.44, but then 2021 was decent. The stock price did go up, but earnings also increased, so PE went down to 12.66, and again more earnings in 2022, where the PE ratio was at 13.10. Now the price peaked by the end of 2022 at around $540 per share, so we saw the PE ratio at 17.13, but as the stock kept on going lower this year, the PE ratio also went down a bit to 14.3. So there was one quarter back in 2021 where the PE ratio bottomed at 8.66, and we had quite a few opportunities to buy the stock at under 13. So now with the PE at over 14, there is still a bit more to be desired. Now let us take shares outstanding. So back in 2018 that was at 0.175 billion shares. In a year in 2019 that went down to 0.17 billion. Down 2.86% for the quarter year over year. Then 2020 0.167 billion shares. In 2021 another decrease of almost 3% to 162 million. 2022 to 156 million shares. And with the most recent quarter in, the number of shares out is at 0.152 million shares. So besides this one quarter in 2018, where the number of shares out didn't go down, other than this, the company have been buying back shares consistently, and in fact if we subtract the numbers, that is a reduction of 23 million shares, which at the current price of $430 per share is a stock buyback of almost $10 billion US. Now for the next step, let's take a look into the dividend payouts and the dividend yield. So back in 2018 we saw the stock yielding 1.8% in dividends on an annual basis. Then a year in 2019 the payout increased, but the price also went up a bit, so the yield was at 1.46%. In 2020 the price moved a bit lower, So the yield is at 1.84%, and it topped in the beginning of 2021, where the dividend yield was at 1.97%. Though afterwards it kept going lower. By the end of 2021 it dropped to 1.73%, and then after 4 more quarters, with the price surging to those highs of 2022, the yield bottomed at 1.27%. Now this year the stock price has been moving lower, so the dividend yield in turn went up, now at 1.67%. At first glance it is on average to what we have seen over the last 5 years, but to look into it further, we'll use my dividend investing watchlist on Google Sheets. So we are now in my dividend stock watchlist, and we have the tab for Northrop Grumman. Here it's that same dividend yield history for each quarter of the last 5 years, and we can find that on average the stock was trading at a dividend yield of 1.58%. So there was that moment back in 2021 where we had a dividend yield at 1.97%, higher than the 5-year average for 24.95%, and then by the end of 2022 it was the worst at 1.27%, below average for 19.45%. Though getting into the stock right now at a dividend yield of 1.74% doesn't sound like the worst idea, since it is higher than that 5-year average plus 10.36%. Now Northrop Grumman is one of the many stocks I have in this dividend watchlist. If you by any chance would be interested in using this document yourself, you are able to access it by following the second link at the top of the description. Otherwise, feel free to add a ticker symbol of your interest in a comment below. I'll consider adding that into the watchlist myself, and maybe there is an interesting dividend opportunity available that I'm still missing. So we have checked through the history, but now how about expectations? At what price analysts think the stock will be trading at next year? So on Yahoo Finance we have information on 18 price targets from analysts. They range from the lows of $384 to the highs of $615 per share. The average out of it is $502.44, and currently the stock is trading at $429.45. So this suggests that analysts predict Northrop Grumman next year will be trading higher for around 17%. Now we can also take another angle. Here we have information on earnings per share estimates from 19 analysts. So this year the stock will be bringing $22.68, and next year that should be increasing to $24.67 per share. So if the price to earnings ratio remains the same, then that means that for 2024 the stock price should be going up by 8.8%. Now for the last part, let's take a look into Superinvestors. So currently 2 portfolios are holding. The larger exposure is Yachtman Asset Management, with almost 410,000 shares, 1.77% of their portfolio. And then Maverick Capital started a new position with 1,310 shares, but that is just 0.01% of their portfolio. So overall Superinvestors seem to be buyers and holders of the stock, though not that much activity going on, with only 2 funds listed here. Now let's also take a look into insider activity, which doesn't look too good. So in the last 6 months we saw 0 long trades, but looking into sell side there were 10 transactions, valued at over $4.5 million. So even with the price down for almost a year, they keep on closing their positions. So we did go through all the metrics I wanted to take a look into, and now we can do a quick recap of what we found. There was a bit of a slump in revenues in 2022, but afterwards it has again consistently moved up. Price to earnings ratio we have now is quite average over the last 5 years, and it would be more interesting to have it at under 13. Now the company has been committed to buying back shares, in 5 years reducing that number by 23 million, which would be around 1/7 of its whole market cap. Looking into dividends, they have gone up consistently, and right now we have the dividend yield plus 10.36% higher than its 5-year average. Analysts are quite bullish on the stock, expecting next year for it to go up from 8 to 17%. Superinvestors are also mostly holding, though there are just sells from insiders. So Northrop Grumman is quite an interesting pick, maybe not perfect right now, but I did require more industrials exposure, so in the beginning of August I already have started a position in it. So I now have 0.452 of a share at a buying price of $442.79 per share. Unfortunately, August was not the greatest for the stock too. From the $200 I've added, the position is now worth $194.09. So I'm losing $5.91 on it, minus 2.95%. This position takes 1.64% of the portfolio, and that is 15.92% of exposure in industrial sector. Now the stock is trading at a dividend yield of 1.74%, and since I did buy it a bit higher, my yield on cost is at 1.69%. So overall the position is bringing $3.38 in dividends on an annual basis. Now this is a good starting position, but I will likely be adding more money into it, as I want to get more exposure in this particular market sector. Now what do you think, is Northrop Grumman worth adding into a dividend portfolio? Share your stance on the name in a comment below. Also, don't forget to support the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. Previously I've made a full update on this dividend portfolio, so if you are interested in that, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.